Today, I'm going to tell you a story about two kitchens. First one is about the restaurant by Chef Ramsay, a very famous chef. He's run this restaurant for years, and tonight he's got 30 people coming, 7-course meal, and everything, all the dishes are planned in his head. And he wants to see what the market delivered before he commits to the menu. So he adjusts the seasoning on the fly. He remembers that table 4 has a nut allergy from the reservation 2 months ago. The whole service runs in his head, adapting in real time. Now, 2 blocks away, there is a stadium. It's halftime, and that stadium kitchen is feeding 80,000 people right now. And there's no Chef Ramsay here. There are 4,000 line cooks. Every single one of them is doing the exact same thing. Assemble the burger, wrap it up, pass it down, same instructions over and over again. Now, here's the thing. Your CPU is Chef Ramsay, and your GPU is that halftime kitchen. And right now, the halftime kitchen is running through 36 trillion calculations every single second. And that number is kind of impossible to picture. So in this video, we're going to make it real. We're going to walk through what's inside a GPU and how is it different from a CPU and why GPUs are so good at video games and AI. So stick around till the end because you can't understand how AI works without knowing this stuff. Now, everyone asks, which is more powerful, a CPU or a GPU? And the answer is, it depends on what you're trying to do. Your CPU is working with maybe 24 cooks, but there are serious cooks. They can improvise. They can handle a substitution mid-course in the menu. They can run the books after service and manage the front of the house. Take a call from the supplier. When you need to boot an operating system, parse a config file, run a web server, that Ramsay's kitchen is exactly what you want. Something that is versatile, fast, capable of real complexity. The stadium kitchen, which is your GPU, has over 10,000 cooks, but each one only knows how to do one thing. Multiply 2 numbers and add a third. That's it. A times B plus C. It's called fused multiply add, and it's basically the entire job description. They can't manage reservations, they can't run an operating system, they have no memory of previous orders, but you give them a mountain of identical work with no dependencies between any of it, they will tear through it faster than Chef Ramsay could ever in his lifetime. So the question is never really which one is faster. Well, the question is, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to make? Running Windows, handling network requests, executing branching logic, that is CPU. Applying the same math to 8 million data points simultaneously, that's GPU, and they will not even come close. So what is inside a GPU chip? So let's actually open this chip up. What is inside a GPU? At the center of the graphics card is a chip called GA102, 28.3 billion transistors. And if you look at how it's laid out, it's organized exactly like our restaurant franchise. Same structure, repeated at every level. Now at the top, you've got 7 graphics processing clusters. Now think of these as 7 separate buildings in the stadium complex, 7 wings of the kitchen. Inside each wing, there are 12 streaming multiprocessors or SMs. Those are the individual cooking stations. And inside each station, you've got groups of 32 cooks working together in locksteps. Those are called warps. Plus 1 specialist team and 1 lighting crew. Now zoom all the way out and across the whole chip, you've got 10,752 CUDA cores, 336 Tensor cores, and 84 ray tracing cores. Now each type does something different. Let's talk about these now. So CUDA cores are the line cooks. They multiply, add, shift. That's the whole job, but there are 10,000 of them, and collectively they are handling most of what you see on screen in a game. Tensor cores are the bulk prep specialists. So instead of one multiply add, they take an entire tray of numbers, matrix, multiply it by another tray, add a third, and produce a finished output tray. The whole thing is one clock cycle, and we will come back to why this matters enormously for AI. Now, ray tracing cores simulate how light physically bounces around a 3D scene. The technique behind those hyper-realistic shadows and reflections in a modern game. Now, fewer of them, but each one is doing something much more complex here. Here's one thing that is extremely fascinating about these chips. During manufacturing, defects happen, and the tiny flaw takes out one cooking station rather than scraping the whole chip. They disable that station and sell it at a lower tier. A flawless chip becomes 3090 Ti, 16 broken stations, and it ships as 3080. Engineers built the chip to be so repetitive that a problem in one area stays contained in that area. It's a smart design and honestly very smart business. Now, graphics memory problem. So we've got 10,000 cooks in a stadium kitchen. They're ready, they're waiting. But if the ingredients are stuck in a warehouse somewhere across town, those 10,000 cooks are just standing there with their arms crossed, and the food doesn't get cooked any faster just because the kitchen is enormous. Doesn't matter, right? That's the memory problem. And for GPUs, it's often the actual bottleneck, not the compute. So let's understand this. The graphics card have their own dedicated memory sitting right on the board next to the chip. On 3090, it's 24 gigabytes. When you boot up a game and sit through a loading screen, what is actually happening is that all those 3D models and textures are getting moved from your SSD into on-card memory. So when the GPU needs them, they're already right there. The connection between the memory and the GPU is 384-bit bus. Now picture 384 separate conveyor belts all running at the same speed. That delivers 1.15 terabytes of data per second. Your CPU's RAM is 64-bit bus, about 64 gigabytes per second. The stadium kitchen's ingredient delivery system is 18 times faster than Chef Ramsay's kitchen. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for AI specifically. Now, GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. Just holding the weights in memory requires 350 gigabytes. A single H100 NVIDIA's dedicated AI chip has 80 gigabytes. You cannot even fit the model on one card. And every single forward pass streams all those weights through memory. The compute stopped being the hard part. Getting the ingredients to the cooks fast enough is where it gets hard. So NVIDIA built a completely different memory system for AI chips. It's called HBM3, high bandwidth memory, stacked in physical cubes directly on top of the chip using microscopic vertical connectors called through silicon vias. Now, data travels microns instead of millimeters. One HBM3 stack delivers 3.35 terabytes per second, 3 times faster than the 3090s. The stadium kitchen gets a loading dock built directly in the floor. So why are GPUs so good at video games? And also at AI, but we'll talk about AI in just a little bit. The head chef picks up the mic. Everyone, sear your protein for exactly 90 seconds. And every single line cook in that kitchen, all 10,000 of them, executes that instruction on whatever is in front of them. Different proteins, different weights, different portions, but the instruction is identical. That is SIMD, or single instruction, multiple data. And it's the reason GPUs are so extraordinarily good at video games. Now here's what it looks like in practice. A modern game scene might have 5,000 objects in it. There's trees, there's characters, there's buildings, cars. Each of those objects has thousands of vertices, which are just the 3D coordinate points that define its shape. Now, before a single pixel gets drawn, every one of those vertices needs to be transformed from the object's own local coordinate space into the shared world coordinate space. So the math for each vector is identical. You take the local position, add the world offset to it, and output the result. There's one instruction, 8 million vertices, and crucially, vertex 4712 has absolutely no interest in what vertex 4711 is doing. They are completely independent of each other. So you hand all 8 million calculations to 10,000 CUDA cores simultaneously. Each core grabs a batch, runs the math, outputs the result in parallel. The computer science term for this class of problem is embarrassingly parallel. And I love that it's a real technical term because it's accurate. It's almost embarrassingly easy to split this work across cores, and because nothing depends on anything else. Video game rendering is the textbook use case for GPUs. Now, modern GPUs have pushed this a bit further with SIMT, single execution, multiple threads, where individual threads within a station can move at their own pace when code branches, rather than everyone staying in lockstep. So, same stadium kitchen, but if one cook's protein needs an extra 10 seconds, they can hold without stopping the entire line. GPUs and AI, same kitchen, but bigger order. Now, training a neural network and rendering a video game frame are at mathematical level almost the same problem. A neural network layer takes a batch of inputs, multiplies each one by learned weights, adds a bias, and passes the result through an activation function. That's one layer. A large model has hundreds of these layers, and across all the neurons in any given layer, every single calculation is independent of every other calculation. No neuron waits for its neighbors. Same embarrassingly parallel structure as vertex transformation in games, same GPU sweet spot. So think of a neural network forward pass as the stadium kitchen that is getting a new order. Now take this input tray, multiply every value by these weights, add these biases, and output the result. All 10,000 cooks run all at once. That's the forward pass. Now here's where tensor cores become the whole story. A standard CUDA core does one multiply add per clock cycle. One. A tensor core takes matrix A, multiplies it by matrix B, adds matrix C, and outputs matrix D, and does the entire matrix operation in one clock cycle. Not value by value, the whole matrix at once. And why does this matter? Because a neural network layer is literally a matrix multiplication. Your input batch is a matrix. The weights are a matrix. You multiply those and add bias to it and you're done. A single H100 has 640 tensor cores and delivers close to 2,000 trillion tensor operations per second. And that's what makes training models at the scale of GPT-4 physically possible. Now, the kitchen runs in two very different modes, depending on whether you're teaching the cooks a new recipe or using them to serve customers. Training is the expensive mode. You're teaching the stadium kitchen a brand new recipe from scratch over millions and millions of practice rounds. For every example, run the data forward through the network. Check how wrong the output was, and that's the loss. Then run the math backwards through every single layer to figure out how much to nudge every weight. That backward pass, the back propagation, takes about twice the compute of the forward pass. So GPT-3 reportedly required around 355 GPU years of compute concatenated into a few weeks by running thousands of H100s simultaneously. Now, inference is a little bit cheaper, but don't let cheaper fool you at scale. So the model is already trained. Your prompt arrives, gets converted into tokens, runs forward through every layer, and the model outputs the most likely next token. You append it, you run it again, keep going until the response is done. There's no backward pass, there's no weight updates, but still, hundreds of matrix multiplications are happening per token across billions of parameters every single time that you hit send. And one more piece worth knowing here is that when you write PyTorch or TensorFlow in Python, you're not programming the GPU directly. Those frameworks sit on top of CUDA, NVIDIA's software layer, which translates your high-level matrix operations into the exact instruction sequences that stream across these cores. So CUDA is a decade-plus-old software ecosystem. There's also ROCm, which is open source by AMD. Now, it's a big reason why NVIDIA kind of dominates AI, not just the hardware itself, but the entire stack is built on top of it. So next time you type a prompt and get something back, somewhere in a data center, hundreds of GPUs just ran billions of matrix multiplications in parallel to generate that response. Now, same stadium kitchen as your graphics card, just a much larger order. All right, so let's bring it back to our restaurant. So Ramsey's Kitchen is your CPU, a smaller number of highly capable cooks that are versatile enough to handle any complexity. Runs the OS, manage branching logic, adapting in real time. Your Python interpreter runs on CPU. Your file system runs on CPU. The Stadium Kitchen is your GPU. 10,000 simple cooks all firing simultaneously, each doing one multiply add. It can't run an operating system. It can't improvise, but give it 8 million identical calculations with zero dependencies between them, vertices, neurons, pixels, matrix values, and nothing in the world will come close to this. The chip itself is organized like a franchise. Graphics processing clusters, down to streaming processors, down to warps, down to individual CUDA, tensors, and ray tracing cores. Memory sits right next to the chip and feeds it at over a terabyte per second because 10,000 cooks waiting on a slow delivery truck are no better than 10 cooks waiting on a fast one. And the reason all of this works for games and for AI is that both workloads are embarrassingly parallel. It's the same math, different data, no one is waiting on anyone else. Rendering video game frames and running a forward pass through a transformer are close to the same problem than most people ever realize. If this piqued your interest and you want to know how transformers actually work, I've got a video up here and I'll see you there. Thank you.